No. and public hearing tonight. We're starting at 5:53 on July 11th.
5:33.
What did I say?
5:53.
Oh, yeah. Okay, 5:33. Blame it on my language. Okay, and, yeah, here we go. We're gonna start off with a public hearing. Dr. Anderson?
President Kidman, members of the governing board, I'm going to turn this over to Lori Wilson to do a brief presentation on the proposed budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Good evening, President Kidman, is it on?
Okay, no.
Superintendent Anderson and governing board members. I will hope to keep this brief, but I will be filling your heads with a lot of figures and formulas. So let's go. All right, so tonight I am here to present PUSD's fiscal year 24 expenditure budget. Later, I'm going to ask you to approve that for the school year for 23-24. So let's get started. Ooh, do I have my clicker?
Yeah, right here.
Thanks. Thanks. So when I was building the budget, there are some goals that the district wanted to meet for school year 23-24. So the first one was that we have reasonable salary increases for all our staff to remain competitive with other Arizona districts. The next one was to keep all our operational spending at a level that allows us to maintain our current class sizes for all schools. Also, no educational program eliminations. We will stay the same as we are last year. And finally, maintain the current medical benefit package, which means staff still don't have to pay anything for their health care, and the health insurance, the district will absorb the increase to our district plan because we did have an increase. Okay? Oh, thanks. So, factors for determining funding. How do we get money each year? How do we receive it? So first of all, the state gives us an amount we can spend based on the number of students that we have, and you multiply that by a per pupil amount. This year, during the 2023 Arizona legislative session, the legislature, approved fiscal year 24 per pupil educational spending at $4,914. That is a $139 increase from last year's per pupil spending. So that was really great because as I go to the next one and how we determine what we receive is our ADM multiplied by that base level support. And I am estimating that we are going to go down by 75 students. So the increase will help. Okay, so here's what all that calculation is for. So thank you. As you can see, our amounts for M&O budget are pretty similar to last year. There weren't a lot of adjustments made, mostly in a little bit of salary and benefits. Our overall general budget limit came out to just a decrease in just over 300,000. Our general budget limit, so the figuring I just told you, that's our revenue control limit. But we also add in, which increases it, our carryover from the prior year, getting us to the $20,558,690. Next, district additional assistance. This is another area that we spend money on. This is used for our capital purchases. So DAA money, as it is referred to, also comes from our support level funding determined by the state legislature. So up here, I have the figures of what they increased from the prior year. You can see they went up a little bit. I mean, not a ton, but anything helps. So in this figuring, though, to make a difference from our prior M&O, this figure is based on prior year ADM. They go back to our 100th day and determine how many students, and then multiply these factors. When we do M&O, I'm projecting ahead how many students we have to get up that route. So when we come around and do a revision, that amount will change, whereas district additional assistance will not. So all that calculation amounts arrives to our capital budget. So our capital budget limit this year, we decreased it a little by 222,000. Part of this, as you go through, when I'm calculating the amount we received is on par and close, but we have a choice. When you have, after you do your capital figuring, you can put part in M&O, part in your capital budget. Since we have ESSER and I can spend capital monies out of our ESSER, I thought we need a little more in our M&O. So I slid a little bit more in M&O this year and a little less in capital. So next, how do we determine how much our property tax money goes towards M&O budget? People ask, they don't understand that. So this is a quick lesson. Okay, first we take the primary assessed value for the city of Page. That's the $94,582,899 times the state sets this is the qualifying tax rate. And then it comes up with, that's just over 3 million. That's what your property tax is, how much our property taxes go towards that revenue control limit. Then the state is our equalization assistant, kicks in the rest of it. So that's where you see the over 14 million, okay? And as far as I was talking to you last time, the primary tax rate actually went down on your taxes, which will be helped this year. So it's at 3.4. That's what they multiplied to get to that over 3 million. And finally, also added to your taxes this year, we'll get to that after this with our truth in taxation hearing. I am asking for, I'm going to present that we are go for $100,000 for adjacent ways, which will increase your primary tax rate by $10.57 per 100,000. But we already had that in place last year, so pretty much it's a rollover. It'll negate. I mean, it's the same as last year. So some of our highlights for the budget this year. There are no budget reductions that negatively affected our instructional programs. It provides an increase of $6,445 in average teacher salary from fiscal year 23. There was no reduction in benefits for staff. No significant change in our teacher experience index. That's a multiplier that also helps when we receive our revenue control limit. The reduction in ADM was offset by the increase in the base level funding, as I mentioned earlier. And there was also a one-time state aid supplement from the legislature that helped increase our budget this year. And finally, all the good news, all our PUS day schools are still going to be part of the community eligibility program for the National School Lunch Program, which means every student, all students without filling out any form will eat free.
Even high school?
Even high school.
Okay, and what about breakfast? Breakfast is same, right?
Yeah. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was still writing notes. Okay, thank you for that presentation. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay, we will then adjourn our public. Wait,
No, I still have two things.
Okay, I already, oh, I know what I did here, okay. All right, so let's do the truth in taxation then, okay.
So this hearing is really just to notify all property tax holders of Page Unified School District of the intention of us to raise the primary tax, the rate that I told you, the increase of $10.57 per $100,000 value of each home, which means on a home of $400,000, it's roughly $42.28. And like I said, because we had this last year, it won't be any change from last year to this year on your taxes. Thank you.
I'm gonna make my one comment.
Oh, yeah?
Businesses, twice as much.
Sorry.
Yeah, so if you own a business in Page, then that is double the rate. Just, and then businesses are typically valued higher than homes.
Right, I was just gonna say, when we
So
talk about
for
it,
businesses, it can be quite, I mean, it's a little harder look, so.
sorry.
No, that's fine. I just like to point that out. I don't know why. Any questions? No, well, good. And no public comments, okay? Then we can adjourn this public hearing at 5:43. And we're gonna call our regular meeting to order at also 5:43. We'll go ahead and start. Roll call.
Bryce Anderson.
Mike Mangum.
Sandra Kidman.
Bunny Cochran. Barb Shields.
Okay, we do not have Desiree Fowler with us, and Chuck is held up at work, so, but because there's three of us, we can go ahead and meet, so. Alrighty. Okay. Okay, we're gonna have the Pledge of Allegiance. I will lead us in that today. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for joining us in that. We will now have a moment of silent meditation. Okay, alrighty, thank you. Okay, that brings us to the approval of the agenda. I need a motion in a second for that, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. All right, announcements and comments. Item number 3, any blue cards? Nope. Let's skip that. Then item 4, special business. We don't have any today. That brings us to item 5, governing board reports. Want to start, Mike? Do you have anything?
Nope, I don't have anything this time.
Okay, I'm just gonna mention how beautiful Lakeview looks, all shiny, brand new roof and building and everything, so making a lot of progress over there. Just drive by there every day, so I noticed. Did you have anything on the report?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, brings us to our superintendent's report.
President Kidman, members of the governing board, I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay, it's summertime, all right, okay. 6 is unfinished business. We don't have any unfinished business. I'm actually gonna turn item 7 over to Mike. Wait, is that a problem because there's only 3 of us? Just wondering. No, it won't matter, it's still majority, huh? Okay. So there's just an item in a consent agenda that I'm gonna recuse myself from, so I'm gonna let Mike take care of it.
All right, a copy of the consent agenda is available at the district administration office. All items will be listed, or all items listed will be considered as a unit by the governing board and will be approved with a one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items unless the board member requests. In case, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered a separate item. I need a motion and a second to,
One of you needs to make the motion.
Okay.
One needs to second.
so
Do you want me to make a motion?
go for it if you want.
I make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I'll second that. And then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passed. That brings us to the end of our consent agenda, and it's the calendar of events is next. We will, just a reminder, there's no work study session in July. Our next regular board meeting is August 8th, which is a week after school starts already. So that'll be fun. And that's pretty much it for our, I'm sure Barb will send us all kinds of stuff for our calendar next month. Okay, that brings us to item 9, which are additional agenda items. We'll start with item A, approval of proposed budget for 23-24. That's an action item. Someone need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget for 23-24 school year.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, did you have any more questions?
Nope.
No? How about you, any more questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
still
fine.
finding the page.
I know, that's why I'm
apologize.
waiting, it's fine, there's a lot of people.
Who's the dunderhead up here on the podium, right?
Okay,
Okay, yes, thank you.
So any other questions on the proposed budget? Ready to vote on the
Yes,
proposed budget?
that's fine, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, I'm fine. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, budget is approved as presented. That brings us to item B, approval of the proposed truth and taxation for our adjacent ways. Need a motion in a second,
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed truth and taxation.
okay?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on that?
No.
We're good to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay. Then the next item is a item that we actually need to table because we're still in need of more information. So if we could, if I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion to table item C, bid RFP 241529.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Do we have any more questions on that? No? Okay. Then we'll ask for the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Alright, so that item's tabled till, we have a date, August, okay. We'll have that item back in August, okay, sounds good. Alright. That brings us to item D. Approval of the emergency operation plan, it's an action item, so I need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the EOP plan.
Okay,
I'll second that.
alright, great, Dr. Anderson.
President Kidman, members of the governing board, Mr. Bennett has worked tirelessly to bring up to specification our emergency operation plan. It was provided to each of the board members at our study session. Mr. Bennett will continue to make himself available as questions arise related to the emergency operation plan due to the sensitive nature of some of the information that is in the plan. It is not a public document. However, there will be training that will be coming for all of our staff, and it is in compliance with the requirements set forth by the Arizona Department of Education and has been thoroughly reviewed by the Arizona Risk Retention Trust, our insurer, to ensure that it is appropriate and meets requirements.
Okay. Any more questions or concerns regarding that?
No.
No? How about you, Betty? No, you're good to go vote? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you. Moving on to item E. Approval of early admission of students to kindergarten for 23-24. This is something new we haven't seen before, but kids that want to be admitted early go through rigorous testing. And you have a list of kids before you that passed those tests. So that's also an action item, so I need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve early admission of students to kinder.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. Any questions or concerns?
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
President Kidman, members of the governing board policy does specify the age at which students are to start kinder. However, there are unique circumstances where a student may have the academic and social wherewithal to be able to successfully transition prior to hitting that age. There is an assessment that is done at the primary level prior to admission. And this recommendation is coming from Ms. Beers through Mr. Henderson. All of the students have gone through the assessment and do meet the requirements to be successful at the kindergarten level.
He answered my question.
All right, then. I think this is especially for kids who like have a birthday on September 2nd, or,
Yeah.
or early, or still in the year, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense, just because they were born one day too early or too late, not let them go. Anyway, I'm glad we're doing this. Okay, let's go, ready to vote?
Yep.
I'll ask, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Alright, unanimous. Okay, moving on to item F, approval of property purchase related to teachers. It's also an action item, so I need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the property purchase related to teachers.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you. Dr. Anderson?
President Kidman, members of the governing board, this has been an ongoing process for a number of months. We are finally getting to the place where the district will be closing on said property, and then we'll begin the renovation to make it suitable for teacher housing. We are slated to close at 9 a.m. tomorrow on the property.
All right. Any comments or questions?
Here's one comment. I did have a nice conversation with the mayor, and he did say that because of COVID, things are pushed back, but they do have plans to build more affordable housing down there. Sand Hill, things like that, which would be nice.
I know that it's needed in the community. It's been needed since the day I stepped foot. One of my first early meetings was at a city planning meeting related to the need for affordable housing for teachers, for law enforcement, for our medical workers as well. This project would have been a non-starter had it not been the opportunity for the district to engage in a matching grant, which allows us a dollar for dollar match in order to create something that will serve up to 4 of our teachers in the future. Our hopeful completion is to have it ready for residency by the end of this fiscal year.
Are they set just for single teachers, or can they house families?
They are set for, at this point, they're set for single. They will be studios,
Okay,
4 800 square foot studios is what they will work out to be.
thank you.
Okay. Call for the vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you. Moving on to item G. Approval of 2-year superintendent's contract with Dr. Bryce Anderson. So an action item, need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve a 2-year contract with Superintendent Dr. Bryce Anderson.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right,
President Kidman, members of the governing board, this will replace the existing contract that I'm on. The terms of the contract don't change, with the exception of it going through June 30th of 2025, as opposed to the current contract that would have gone through June 30th of 2024.
alrighty, any questions? We're good to go?
Why did I think it was a 3-year contract instead of a 2-year?
I don't know,
Just wondering.
2's good.
We'll revisit it again next.
Alright, okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, you have a 2-year contract. Alrighty. Let's see, that was item G. We're gonna go to item H. Also an action item, approval of the textbooks and curriculum adoption for Lakeview Primary, 95% phonics core program. Any motion in a second?
I'll motion to approve the textbook and curriculum adopted for the Lakeview Primary 95% Phonics Core program as presented.
Okay, thank you. Second?
I second that.
All right. Dr. Henderson?
President Kidman, members of the governing board, as our teachers went through the letters training this year, one of the identified areas of need at our primary level, and even going into our intermediate, was the need for a formalized science-based phonics program. Lakeview Primary did investigate and spent a significant amount of time looking at 3 different phonics-based program. Teachers had an opportunity to interact with it and leverage some of the resources associated with it. In the end, decided that the 95% phonics core program was the best fit for our teachers and for our students.
Have any questions or comments?
Question, is this also a tactile program for like kids that suffer with dyslexia and things like that? They can actually, this is something that,
Yeah, there are lots of hands-on manipulatives that come with the program.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? No? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, thank you. Brings us to item I, approval of textbooks and curriculum adoption for Desert View grades 4 and 5. It's an action item, so need a motion in a second.
Make a motion to approve the textbook and curriculum adopted for Desert View grades 4 and 5.
I second it.
All right, Dr. Anderson?
President Kidman, members of the governing board, Elevate Science is what is being proposed to serve as the resource that guides our instruction in science at the 4th and 5th grade level at Desert View Intermediate. This year, we did pilot with the board's approval in 5th grade, the Elevate Science. We are looking to codify that and make it the curriculum, and we are looking to extend it to the 4th grade for next year with the objective of extending it to 3rd grade the following year. So Elevate Science will be our science curricular resource at Desert View Intermediate moving forward.
Okay, any questions, concerns? No? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Brings us to item J, approval of textbooks and curriculum adoption for Page Middle School, grades 6, 7, and 8. Also an action item, need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve textbooks and curriculum adoption from Page Middle School, grades 6 and 7 and 8.
I second that.
All right, Dr. Anderson?
President Kidman, members of the governing board, again, in focusing on one of the pieces that was delayed was science adoptions across the country with the next generation science standards. As those science standards had gone into effect prior to the outbreak of COVID, we are now getting to look at where our needs are in science. One of the identified needs is in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in order to make sure that we have a progression of developing a science skill set as they move through the middle school. One of the pieces related to this curriculum is it is as close as we could come to alignment with the Arizona state standards. However, there will be some work on behalf of teachers to ensure that we make sure that all of the standards are addressed utilizing this curriculum.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay, H. Okay, JK. All right. Okay, this brings us to the next item, which is going to be a hint more complicated than previously expected, as we received email just this afternoon, I believe, or earlier today. So I'm gonna say this, we need to table the first 3, correct?
Correct.
And
IG,
then we'll approve only the 4th one.
JLBC.
So I'm gonna need somebody to make that motion, so we're gonna need 2 motions. We can do the first 3 in one motion to table, and then we'll do another motion to approve just that 4th one.
I'll make a motion to table IGA curriculum development, IGD curriculum adoption, IJJ textbook and supplementary materials.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor to table, say aye.
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 Okay, unanimous, okay. So those 3 items are now tabled, and now we need to do a motion to approve the 4th one.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve JLDC medicine administering medicines to students.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay.
President Kidman, just to clarify, the reason for the tabling was additional language was recommended by ASBA earlier today related to those other policies, and instead of taking them to a second read and adoption, I'd rather get the language correct before we actually adopt. However, JLDC is recommended language that came out of Arizona Revised Statute in terms of students self-administering certain medications that are in line with medical guidance.
Okay, any questions or concerns? No? Go ahead.
So who steers that? The parent? Or being able to administer medication to students?
So as it relates to JLDC, it's very specific. It comes out of Arizona Revised Statute 15160.02 and derives from seizure safe schools legislation. So it depends upon the issue for the medication that really drives that. But yes, parents would be involved in whether they are going to the school and sharing the condition that their child has and providing the medication that the child would have to take.
Because if you clarify for me, because I believe it was like, going through the medical professional there at the school. But if there's like a situation with a field trip or something, the teacher would need to be on board with that and have an understanding.
So this comes out, and I apologize, I'm gonna read from the policy advisory. The model legislation began in Kentucky in 2018 when one teen, Lindsay Cronk, recognized the need to educate teachers and school professionals on the prevalence of people living with epilepsy and seizures. Arizona passed its model legislation in 2022 after it was introduced by the Epilepsy Foundation and later amended with the help of ASBA's governmental relations team. So the purpose of this bill, as stated by its creators, was to educate school staff about epilepsy. The bill requires training and a dissemination of information. So there is training that goes along with it as well. The training is not a requirement that any individual administer medication in any scenario. The requirement, as required by law, are instituted in model policy and regulation. And if an individual is unable to proceed with their training during an emergency, they should call 911. So it is really coming from a seizure-driven medication or the provision that medication be provided.
So I wonder, is it specific to seizure incidents, or what about asthma, bronchial situations?
It does extend to that as well. I believe our current policy allows for asthma-related dispensing of medication by students,
By a teacher if needed.
by a teacher if needed,
Thank you.
and it holds them harmless.
Okay, so we're good? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay. That brings us to the first reading of our governing board policy, IG&D technology resources. So read it again, and then we'll bring it back a second time. Alrighty, we'll go to regulation JJR, and I'm also gonna recuse myself from that one, so Mike, it's your turn to just do that part.
I'll pass it to Bryce, Dr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mangum. President Kidman, members of the governing board, this is a regulation. It does not require formal governing board action. The change to this regulation really goes back to evaluating how the district operates its athletic and extracurricular programming, finding that we are the only traditional public school district in the state that allowed for non-students to participate in our programming. It's really this regulation brings in line how we operate with every other school district in the state post-pandemic. Perfect.
Okay,
Questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Then item N, approval of job description title change from preschool teacher to early childhood teacher. That's also an action item, so I need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the job title description change from preschool teacher to early childhood teacher.
Okay,
I second it.
thank you, Dr. Anderson.
President Kidman, members of the governing board, traditionally, position descriptions come through study session. However, the change to this position description is one very simple one. It is simply the title that is changing. None of the work requirements or any of the other pieces in the position description are changing. Really, the objective is because our teachers who teach preschool are early childhood teachers and require a teacher certification, felt it necessary and appropriate to bring it in line with how we title our other teaching positions across the district, and also the hope that it would also dispel any thinking when we do post for these positions that it is a certified teacher position that we're looking for, as opposed to somebody who may be interested in teaching preschool.
Questions, concerns? No? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you. All right, that brings us to item 10, which is future agenda items. Just a reminder, future agenda items need to be brought a week before the meeting, right? 5 days, business days. Do you have anything? Can you mention it now or just send an email to Dr. Anderson and Schilt? And I think that's it, unless you have any questions about that. We'll come to my favorite item on the agenda. Mike, would you like to do the honors?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're officially adjourned at 6:09. Make sure to sign everything because there's only 3 of us tonight, so